Hi Dixon Dragons, it's Miss Kwan here again to do some social studies with you. In the last video we talked about in Richmond we meet our basic needs: clothing, shelter, transportation, and food. And today we are going to talk about a different community in Nunavut called Iqualuit. Iqualuit. How does the community of Iqualuit meet its needs? In Iqualuit, there's a First Peoples group called the Inuit who have lived there for thousands of years. They were traditionally a fishing community, and right now there are many filmmakers, artists, and musicians there. One of the main languages they speak is Inuktitut. They also speak English and some French as well. These are some photos of Iqualuit. As you can see, it looks quite a bit different from our community of Richmond. They have permafrost. Because it's cold all year round, the floor or the grounds are actually frozen, so it's very hard for trees to grow. In fact, do you see any trees? There aren't really any trees. That's because it is called tundra. There are only small plants that can grow out of there. It is also located on Frobisher Bay. So it is surrounded by water, but very cold Arctic water. So their food and how they get their food is a lot different from Richmond. How do you think they get their food? Well, as you can see, there is a Tim Hortons, but there's only one in all of Iqualuit. You could not find a McDonald's in Iqualuit. They do have a grocery store, just like Richmond, but only a few. Fish is a staple over there. They are surrounded by water, and they can do some ice fishing. That's what these people are doing up here. So food arrives by boat most of the time, but it's hard for the boat to arrive, especially when the waters are icy. So the food prices in the supermarket are really expensive. Now let's talk about shelter. What do you notice here? Do the buildings look the same as the ones in Richmond? As you can see, these buildings have stilts. That's because the ground is frozen, and if they were built right on the ground, during some of the seasons, it would sink down. So to protect their homes, there's wooden stilts. This is a church in Iqualuit. It is white and looks like an igloo. This right here and this right here are schools. This school especially looks quite different. They need a ton of heat during most of the year in order to stay warm. Now let's talk about transportation. How do people get around in Nunavut? Well, it's quite different from Richmond, as you can see. Why do you think that is? Well, it's very cold, so they don't have many streets. In fact, there are no street lights. There are only stop signs. And look, that stop sign has stop in Inuktitut, the Inuit language. Other ways they get around are by dog sled and by snowmobile. They do have taxis just like us to take you from the airport. They also have ambulance and police cars, but their police cars are police trucks. That's because they're safer to drive when it's really cold. They also have an airport, just like we do in Richmond, but there are only a few places that you can go to from that airport, unlike in Richmond, where you can almost go anywhere in the world. Now, clothing. Since it's so cold in Iqualuit for most of the year, what do you think that they wear? Is it the same as us? Well, they have to wear pretty thick clothing. A lot of furs, like these people here, hats and toques and gloves. It gets freezing. They have 4 seasons just like us, but for most of the year, it's very cold. So you probably won't see them wearing shorts and tank tops at any time. So, now that we've talked about both communities, how are Richmond and Iqualuit different? How are they the same? I sent home a Venn diagram, which is the paper with the 2 circles that we use to compare. We are going to think about some of the ways that Iqualuit and Richmond are different and some of the ways they are the same. You can look at these pictures and do your own research if you want to know more. All right, that's it for today.